The soul of a demon reads, demons were born of the chaos flame, but the flame has not survived, and the demons are a dying race. For those of you unfamiliar with what the chaos flame is, in the first Dark Souls, the Witch of Izalith used her own Lord Soul and Master of Pyromancy to recreate the first flame. She instead created the chaos flame, which engulfed all of Izalith, and she was absorbed into the fire, becoming the bed of chaos, source of all demons. Chaos Bed Vestiges reads, traces of the tumultuous seedbed that birthed the beings known as demons. Demons born from fire bore its smoldering essence, and perished soon after. Man shares the same rapport with the flames to this day. And vestige by definition means trace of something that is disappearing or no longer exists. Long story short, demons need the chaos flame to live, so without it, they're dying off. Below the catacombs exists the Smoldering Lake, which heavily resembles Ashen Lake from the first game. And it's here that we fight the Old Demon King. The shriveled Old Demon King is now like a clump of burnt ash, but he is the last living witness of the chaos of Izalith. I think what's quite striking about his appearance is that, in a lot of ways, he's very tree-like. His skin is like bark that's barely retaining a flame, and his beard is made up of what appears to be roots. I'll go over why this might be later, but as the fight continued, you might have noticed that towards the end, the Demon King actually collapses, and at this point, he's unable to even lift his Great Hammer, and it shows us just how weak he's grown, unable to even defend himself. When we finally do defeat him, you can actually see the last bit of fire leaving his body. And as we look around, we see the remnants of the demon race. Scattered around, we see the bodies of countless demons, Capra, Taurus, Asylum, and even a few centipede demons as well. Without the Chaos Flame, this is the fate of all demonkind. I was thinking that maybe without the Chaos Flame, all they could do is really gather around and wait for them to die, one by one, which is depressing and spooky. Anyway, as we continue further, we stumble into the demon ruins. These ruins are also cluttered with the bodies of demons, but they're actually inhabited by the Ghru. We know from their weapons that the Ghru were actually descendants of the acolytes of Farror Keep, so they were once human, but they're definitely not demons. But it's understanding how you might mistake one for a demon, judging by its appearance and its use of pyromancy. Which I think I have a pretty good explanation for why that might be, but we'll move on for now. So, further in the ruin, there's a room where the demons seem to have turned into statues. As a matter of fact, that's exactly what I think happened. I believe these lesser demons, without the Chaos Flame, have become empty shells, harboring no life at all. This is of course speculation on my part, but I think it would explain why the bodies are littered around without any sign of decay or rot. They just seem empty. So bearing that in mind, these demons could potentially come back to life with the re-emergence of a Chaos Flame, and I find it far more likely that they turn to stone in this position rather than someone moved them and propped them up like this. Also, it's important to note that there are lit candles and machetes planted all around these demons, and these will come into play later. Even further in the ruins, we find places where even the Ghru don't wander. This is where we discover the corpse of who I assume to be the Fair Lady from the first Dark Souls. The Fair Lady was one of the daughters of the Witch of Izalith. She is part spider, and just like in the first game, she is surrounded by a clutch of eggs. On the ground, we see the corpse of Quilena, another daughter of the Witch of Izalith. Quilena was the sole surviving Witch of Izalith, and she probably stayed with her weakening sister until the very end. Fun fact, Fair Lady is actually one of my favorite characters in the series, because of reasons. Anyway, with the discovery of the Fair Lady and Quilena's body, I'd like to make the argument that the Demon Ruins is actually Izalith. I'd like to support this claim by pointing out the architecture is the same, the stone gargoyles that were only present in Izalith are here, all the demons. Also, its location fitting, and there's a bunch of items that support this claim. Some of the more important ones are the Witch's Ring, which was offered to humans by the Witch of Izalith and her daughters, along with the art of pyromancy, and more importantly, the Izalith Staff, ancient catalyst of the Witch of Izalith and her daughters, used long before the dawn of chaos in pyromancy. I could go on still if you doubt me, but I feel like that's enough exposition for right now. One of the bonfires in the Demon Ruins is actually named the Old King's Antechamber. Well, what king, you might be asking? We already know of one old Demon King, and from his soul we transpose the Old King's Great Hammer, which states, Great Hammer of the Old Demon King. This weapon has survived since Old Izalith, and is imbued with the remnants of the Chaos Flame. What I'm getting at here is that both kings are one and the same. The Old Demon King is the Old King, and he predates the Chaos Flame. As for what was he the king of, well, the king's antechamber is in what we presume to be Izalith. We know it's Izalith because of reasons, and it makes sense since the Chaos Flame engulfed all of Izalith. But the best evidence I have to suggest that he wasn't always a demon is pretty simple. His antechamber is too small. And not just that chamber, all the doors and hallways in Old Izalith are too small for the Demon King to fit through in his current state. So, I think it would be a pretty significant oversight if the guy had a kingdom that he couldn't even fit in. The fuck is this? Anyway, I looked up antechamber because I had no idea what it means, and the definition is a small room leading to the main one. And the most reasonable main room connected to this one is here. Inside we see a corpse, and it's kneeling in front of what appears to be a giant petrified Ghru. The body is clutching an Izalith pyromancy tome, further proving that this is indeed Izalith. A pyromancy tome from Izalith, containing pyromancies of the witches. Chaos pyromancies manipulate lava, and birth all later forms of pyromancy. Which makes me think that this isn't a Ghru at all. First of all, it's far too big to be a Ghru compared to the other ones that we see. Also, why has this Ghru seemingly turned into stone like the demons that surround the ruins? Because the Ghru, unlike the demons, don't require the Chaos Flame to live. And in this room is a guarded pyromancy tome of Izalith that teaches you pyromancy. So I don't think it's that demons resemble the Ghru, but rather the Ghru are trying to resemble demons. Perhaps that's why they mask themselves with the skull, the branches, and the hood in order to try and resemble a demon more closely. There's also the possibility that this Ghru actually, through pyromancy, was able to connect itself to the Chaos Flame and therefore died out, but that's less likely. Also, an interesting side note is the pyromancy wielding Ghru are actually called Ghru clerics, and sometimes smoldering Ghru as well. Some people think they're demons, but they're not. They would have been dead if they are. And that's why we find lesser Ghru here as well. The spell Rapport, advanced pyromancy of Quilena. The living are lured by flame, and this is elemental to the art of pyromancy. Notice that it says living. So even savage creatures like the Ghru are naturally drawn to the flame, which would explain why they've taken it upon themselves to learn pyromancy. With this, we can kind of understand why it appears the Ghru had such an admiration for the creatures that were birthed of pyromancy. And I have even more concrete evidence to back up this claim, besides the Ghru trying to mimic their appearance. Remember that room with all the demons that have turned into statues? Well, who do you think lit the candles or even placed them there at the foot of every statue? Even more so, who went out of their way to grab all of the demon machetes and firmly plant them in the ground as a symbol of respect? Well, I mentioned earlier that the Ghru are descendants of Farror Keep, which has a tradition of planting swords in honor of fallen warriors. I just blew your mind, didn't I? I also have an in-depth lore video of Farror and the Abyss Watchers, so if you're interested in that, I'll link it in the description down below. But moving on, the story doesn't end there. Next up is the Lothric twins. Now, I'm not going to cover their whole story because it's been done before and, well, we'd be here all fucking day, so I'm just going to give you the gist of it. Long story short, the Prince of Lothric was supposed to be a Lord of Cinder, but he was born into illness and said nope. Armor of Prince Lothric's older brother Lorien. This black-dyed brass armor was passed down to him from the royal family. Lorien, raised as a knight, is said to have been left mute and crippled by his younger brother's curse. It is also said that Lorien, in fact, wished it so, which means it was his choice to share his brother's curse to ease his burden. Ultra Great Sword of Lorien. Prince Lothric's older brother, cast in smoldering molten steel and stained black. Before Lorien embraced his brother's curse, he was a knight who single-handedly slayed the demon prince, but the victory eternally scorched his sword. Now, this is the first mention of a demon prince, and I don't think it's completely unlikely that this might be the Prince of Izalith, son of the King of Izalith, or if it's just a title like Prince of Demons. But really, there isn't much info and it doesn't change anything, so pick one. Or both. Whatever. Finally, right before the Ringed City, we fight the Demon from Below and the Demon in Pain. Personally, I couldn't find almost anything on these two demons, so this next part is going to be heavily speculating based on observation and loose connections. First, let's talk about the Demon in Pain, and it's a fitting description, because if you look closely you can see that it's actually injured. On its head there's skin missing and there's pieces of flesh dangling from its face. The wings attached to his arms are actually broken, and his body is charred, and you can see right here an example of that charring on the inner wing flap. When compared to the Demon from Below, you can see that this is what their heads are supposed to look like. As you can see, the wings fully extend out, although the skin in between the wings is badly damaged here. Also, if you notice, the flap on the inside of the arm that I pointed to earlier is also damaged here as well. In a side-by-side comparison, you can see the difference in color, both in their charred skin, but also in the flames emitting from their body. I don't think this is a purely cosmetic design choice, because a red flame is a much cooler flame on the spectrum than an orange or yellow flame, which kind of makes sense since seeing the Demon in Pain is a lot more tattered up than the other demon. Also, I think the Demon in Pain has an injured tail, but it's kind of hard to tell when they're always moving around trying to kill you, so we'll move on. Now, I think the names are significant too. Demon in Pain obviously alludes to the fact that it's injured, but I think there's more to it than that. I think there's a possibility that this is the demon prince that Lorien supposedly killed. And if you remember at the start of the DLC, the pilgrim mentions that she's sure the noises are coming from the demon that Prince Lorien fought.
Far below, there's a deep, dark hole carved out of a tree. From time to time, voices brim from the depths of the cavity even now. Mutterings of the very demon that Prince Lorien spoke of, I'm sure. Horrible sounds of an afflicted thing, yet cursing men.
And this would explain the injuries, although it wouldn't really explain how it survived, but who knows? Not me, so moving on. Demon from Below. Now, this one was a bit more tricky, but I think the name comes from its inability to fly for long periods of time. Yes, we see it hop around and flap its wings a bit, but you have to remember that on its arms, the membranes are completely destroyed. Even the Demon in Pain, you can see the charred remains of what used to be a wing flap on the inner working of its arm. That's about the only theory that I've come up with that actually makes sense for why it's stuck there or why it's named that, but hey, if you have any ideas, let me know. Also, it's interesting to note that there are some similarities between the two demons and the Lothric twins. Both twins are secluded, they're protecting each other, and they're crippled, so I don't know if this has any story implications. Once you defeat both demons, the remaining one kindles itself and becomes the Demon Prince. His soul reads, "The demons, birthed from a common chaos, share almost everything between them, even the pride of their prince, and his near-fated flame, so that the last demon standing may rekindle it." This means that if even a single demon remains, the demon prince can return. I'd like to point out that nowhere currently in the game does it say the Demon from Below and Demon in Pain are the last demons alive. Some people don't know this, but the Batwing creatures that carry the player around are actually lesser demons themselves. And visually, they look very similar to the giant bat demons in the sense that they both have eyeless faces with brain-like mounds for heads. As for why they seem unaffected by the loss of the Chaos Flame, It could be that the gods somehow disconnected them from needing the Chaos Flame. This is completely up to speculation. Although it seemingly looks pretty grim for all of demonkind, don't worry, we got you. Through the Demon Prince's soul, we get Demon Scar. This chaotic thing, the last flame kindled by the Demon Prince, is shaped like the claw marks of a demon. Now, the interesting thing here is that the Demon Prince himself kindled it, which could have numerous meanings. But it is entirely possible that whoever wields this weapon is in some way holding the last hope that demons have. The soul can also transpose seething chaos, the last flame lit by the Demon Prince. This pyromancy hurls a clump of chaos. To demons, these clumps are shreds of life. This pyromancy quite literally creates chaos that grants demons life. So theoretically, if a talented enough pyromancer tried, they could relight the chaos flame, not unlike how the Witch of Izalith did in the first game. As for why someone would do this, it's important to remember that all living things are drawn to the flame. After all, pyromancy is at once the knowledge of controlling flame and knowledge that control is impossible. Such is the intrinsic horror of the flame. And in the end, the pyromancer to rekindle chaos might not even be a human. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you thought in the comments. I have other lore videos too on Dark Souls. I most recently did one on Nier Automata, so check that out. Look forward to more lore videos in the future. Alright, see ya dudes.